We've talked about in some length how the picture leg is created by the standing leg and the actions of my intention to move forward or backward or to shape sideways. How that our one leg is free, sometimes say the standing leg, the moving leg, the working leg, the extending leg. In ballet we may be calling this the gesturing leg. In any case, we're moving our weight from one foot to the other, and so one leg needs to move into position or gesture to do something artistic. However you'd like to think about it, both legs are active. So we'll look at that a little bit in the Latin dances now. Talked about that in the ballroom dances, how the intention to move forward, the spine moving forward, the CVM creates a swing in the leg. And sometimes people will say, well, I know I don't swing my leg when I walk, I just walk, but you actually do. The swing phase happens as the weight begins to move forward, and the speed of the leg always is anticipating the body moving. If that weren't the case, and you were moving at the same speed, the leg would not swing out ahead of you, it would simply catch you. So the language that we use sometimes can be confusing in a way. I'm still catching myself, but the leg is moving out ahead of me so that I can transfer my weight gradually from foot to foot. So in the Latin dances, how is the leg inspired? We still have within our body a spiraling action. So there's a contra-body movement, regardless whether we're doing Latin or ballroom, that's working within me in my spine, where my rib cage is working in opposition to the movement of my pelvis and legs. But the other thing that we have is we have the shifting of weight into the hip and the rib cage dropping down into the hip, which begins to free the leg where there is no weight. So the first thing that happens then when I shift my weight with the intention to move is reflection in my knee. So what we want to practice here is just the work of the standing leg, the transfer of weight, and how that creates a whip or a tail or a gesture in the free leg. So we have, again, an organization of the body from the center, from the standing leg, to create shape and to create the preparation to move. So if we look for a moment then at rhythm dancing and Latin dancing, if you're new to dancing, maybe you don't know those two terms, but in the Latin American dances, that's the international style. And then the rhythm dances we consider the American style. But it's a difference in the approach of the leg action as well as in the timing of some of the dances that we do together, of course, social in their origins, but the international style and the Latin style has been developed more as an artistic and competitive style dancing. And there's been a lot of focus on the beauty of leg and body lines and so on, hoping, of course, to keep that split Cuban beat in the way that we use the body rhythm. So we look at our square rumba, also socially based, has come up as a social dance and is danced more frequently as a social dance. It will tend to be more underneath the body and more for the enjoyment of the couple. Now, once competition enters into the picture, becomes more stylized. So that's what's happened with our so-called American dancing, which is really the Cuban or the Latin dancing. Of course, these terms are thrown around, and for people just coming into the industry, it can be a little bit confusing. So aren't they all Latin dances? But it's the social style that we do in a social situation, then becoming a competitive dance. Suddenly it becomes bigger. We're more concerned now about how things look. The social dance primarily concerned how things feel. What are we enjoying together as a partnership? Well, hopefully we can carry this enjoyment into competitive dancing, but it has affected the look of our social dancing or American style rumba. So one of the controversies today is about the leg action, about the knee being soft and then straightening gradually as opposed to going onto a straight leg right away, which is your international Latin style. So rather than a full discussion about that, we just want to talk about the movement of the leg, and of course it always starts with the flex when we shift the hip. That's the first thing that happens. So let's take it to maybe the origins and say, well, we're going to dance the square rumba, as a social dance. In that case, I may be dancing in a nightclub and I'm keeping the leg underneath my body. So it would be very artificial for me to try to straighten my leg to do my box in a social situation. It's danced right underneath the body. So it's a very natural format then, that the knee would be soft as we enter. And if we start the movement of the leg and let our bodies travel further, then the leg may straighten. So when we're doing the competitive dance that's still American style, we're trying to still maintain this soft knee even if we're moving a little bit bigger. So that's just a small discussion of that. And I'm going to mostly look at the leg as it's going out into the straightening action, because I do in the next video want to look at the spiral. And we use the spiral in both styles. And we want the most attractive leg line. So what I'm going to feel then is how my leg responds, first from the knee, and then as I continue to drive my weight down the back of my leg in anticipation to move, the leg will be moving out into its full extension. Now I'm not doing this at the moment with the forward action at the ankle to create the walk. I'm looking again more at the gesturing leg, the shaping leg, or the picture leg that's created here. So I'm now also creating something we call a delayed or extended delayed forward walk. So we'll come back to that. So if I just stand here and send my leg to the side and move the hip around, you can begin to see how the leg is following the hip. I'm letting my leg spiral in and out. We've talked about the spiral quite a bit in response to the standing leg. Sending it out. We could look at this in terms of Argentine tango as well as a boleo. The boleo is not created so much by the settling of hip weight laterally like we do in Latin, but the turning of the hip and the leg following the hip. So again, it's acting as a gesture or as a tail. So settling and extending. Settling and extending. Settling and extending. We'll try that with the other side. Settling, release the knee, extend. Settling. So you can see that when I'm settling my standing leg, the moving leg belongs to the lower hip. The moving leg belongs to the low hip. And as we transfer weight, then we'll slowly take the hip to the new standing leg. And now we have the feeling as though as the weight moves away, someone's pulling on my leg. So my gesturing leg is now delayed until I have to swing it back. So the point being that to have this integrated movement and the spiral within the body, the leg reacting to the weighted leg, is that the leg doesn't simply go out and point out and move. Same thing in the ballroom, that we don't just stick our legs out, but we have an action, a preparation to move through our weight and through our CBM. We have to train ourselves to respond all the time to the standing leg. If I was then dancing this with a partner, as the man transfers his hip weight, it's going to be delivered to me through our connection, and then him delivering his weight to his hip causes me to deliver my weight, and that will cause me to prepare my leg to move depending on what energy he's given to me. Same thing as when we're doing the ballroom, the man is beginning to intend to move forward, and he's speaking to my free leg, which begins to open up to go backward, or my thighs begin to move forward, or one leg presents into a side. So that's just a little bit of the explanation of how the standing leg and the moving leg work together. And in the next video, I'll take a look at the delayed extended forward walk, the delayed forward walk, also called the pressed forward walk, or it can be a back walk, and then how we're going to use that in the dancing, and then we'll go on and look at that in the rumba spiral.